Are we gonna work? Okay, we will call the order of the Finance Committee, Norfolk County Advisory Board Finance Committee meeting, Wednesday, September 18th. We'll take the roll call first. Dr. Childs.
Here.
Seal.
Here.
Mr. Connors.
Here.
Chair is present. The only person not here is Joe Hayden. I'm not sure if he's gonna join us or not, but we'll get started.
He said he's trying to join via Zoom.
Okay.
All right.
You may want to call him, Bill.
Thanks.
All right, we'll keep going if you can call this great. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is fiscal 25 first supplemental budget transfer request and appropriation amendments for the registry of deeds. Mr. Director, yeah. Dr. Cronin, turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the advisory boards, finance committee. This evening, I just wanted to, could bring up the supplemental, budget. Let's pull that data up. I will inform you. I believe you have the attachments. The county closed fiscal year 24 with a surplus of $3,407,908. That number was inclusive of a $2 million capital improvement appropriation that you made last year that was not spent. So it is part of the actions we're going to request your consideration of this evening to reauthorize that. But when you remove the $2 million and you set aside the $730,426.99 appropriation required in the FY25 budget, the real balance becomes $677,481. This evening, we are asking for consideration of supplementing $192,778 worth of items, which I'll discuss in just a moment, which, if approved, will result in a carry forward of $484,703 for the remainder of fiscal year 25. Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I will go through these expeditiously. The notes I have are pretty typical format we've been following. I wanted to note that the FY24 surplus drawn down from Norfolk County Treasurer is dramatically lower than we've seen in prior years. As you can see, we peaked in FY21 with a $5.288 million surplus. I think we know why these numbers have trended the way they are, but we sit on 1.4 million today. Our current stabilization fund balance, although I'm not making any recommendations for deposits into stabilization or OPEB, has gone up since last year. We now sit at $6.372 million in stabilization, which is just under 17% of our operating budget for FY25. It is the same percentage of operating costs that we carried last year. You may recall from my prior conversations, my goal is to get the stabilization fund up to 20% of the operating budget as recommended by Mark Abrahams. We will resume our contributions to the stabilization account when we see an influx of additional revenues, which hopefully will return in the next fiscal year or so. The OPEB balance. So our GASB 7475 report from June of 23 indicated our total liability of $36.6 million. That's a decrease from $40 million reported a year ago. As the commissioners know, and as well as the advisory board, the county continues to make regular and recurring payments from our operating budget of $100,000. In some years, FY21, I believe, maybe 22, we made additional payments because we had higher surplus. We don't have that luxury. So our recurring payments will continue to come from the operating account, projected to be for FY24 in the $36.4 million range. Regarding supplemental items, very briefly, the technology department is requesting a total of $60,778. It's broken into three components as shown in the spreadsheet of $51,660, $500, and $8,618. This is a municipal local cybersecurity grant administered by the state. Our IT director, Sam Evans, applied for this reimbursement grant. It was awarded. We need to expend the funds and then we'll be reimbursed by the state. So with your approval tonight, we will proceed with the grant award, which was provided to us on July 11th. The Walston Golf Course, we are currently in the process of studying the tennis courts at the golf course and will require $32,000 to complete the study work needed to understand how much work is needed to repair and replace the surfaces, I think, on 2 tennis courts. Once this cost is known, we will identify a funding source through ARPA. The commissioners are aware of this, to hopefully fund up to $300,000 in improvements for that particular asset. We're looking for funds from the supplemental to simply pay off the design fees. I'll get to the registry of deeds in a moment. I just wanted to wrap up the final items in the commissioner's office. The auditing services for FY 23 are needed to be supplemented in FY 25. I think I mentioned that we were playing catch up last year when we hired Powers and Sullivan, which is now known as Markham. They completed FY 22. They are almost done with FY 23. We're hoping to have that done in the fall. And we will need to supplement those dollars in FY 25. We had supplemented the FY 23 budget last year, but it wasn't completed, so the money reverted. Now we're looking for reauthorization. And then finally, some of you may know that our CPO, our Chief Procurement Officer, retired in July. We're taking this moment in time to reform the unit, study its workflow, its policies, and we've hired a group called Capital Strategies to help augment personnel services, some of the leadership and chief procurement duties. As a result of this unexpected cost, we have been using emergency funds appropriated in the commissioner's budget. We'd like to replenish that line item, because it's so early in the fiscal year, to the tune of $50,000. That completes the request of $192,778 in supplemental items. If you go to the second page, very briefly, there are 2 transfers, kind of cleanup actions. The school's looking for a transfer of $40,500 to correct some permanent salary needs, and the treasurer's office is looking for a $900 deposit and longevity that was overlooked in the development of the FY 25 budget. Briefly, as always, I note items for your interest. There are 5 items. The first, we are currently tracking a deficiency in the Employee Health Insurance Fund. The deficiency emerged in FY 24 as a result of revenue deposits for this fund landing in the general fund. The treasurer reports it's approximately $250,000 as of the end of July of 2024. We will address this shortfall later in fiscal year 25 as supplemental fund availability develops. I've spoken to the treasurer. They understand that the county at this point doesn't have endless surplus to address the surplus deficiency at this time. They're happy to carry the deficiency. We will address this by the end of fiscal year 25. In FY 24, as I mentioned, the county requested $2 million from the Capital Improvement Fund to install a new HVAC system in Dedham Superior Court. There was no activity in FY 24 to bill against, so the county is requesting a reauthorization of this amount in FY 25 as the plans are now proceeding. We've hired a P architects who are close to developing the final study documents for our use in bidding this particular item this fall. So we're expecting some access to, we need access to funds this fall to carry forward with the project, which we hope will begin later in this fiscal year. As I mentioned, the county has completed its FY 22 audit. We'll continue with the 23, hopefully have that done this fall. The FY 24 audit will commence in the second half of fiscal year 25. We're virtually caught up, which is good news. The county is exploring an electric vehicle charging station grant through the state. We're piloting a location right behind the Dedham Registry. This particular program to date has been identified as a no cost to the county option. It is offset and supplemented by state grant funds. We will inform the advisory board through the commissioners as soon as we hear word on the application, which I believe was filed back in May. Finally, revenue collections in July were slightly below benchmark. We, as I did last year, we keep an eye on revenue month by month. A year ago, we collected $661,800. Our revenue collections were slightly below in July at $598.5. We did hear word that August looks very good compared to last year. We don't have the trial balance yet to discuss numbers, but I'm also happy to report, as I believe some of you have heard, that the Federal Reserve today announced a jumbo reduction in Federal Reserve borrowing rates by 0.5%. that will hopefully trigger the market coming down on interest rates, which will then open up additional buying and refinancing options, which feed our registry revenue. So at this point, we're seeing some signs that indicate the remainder of FY 25 may look much better than we did a year ago, or certainly the prior year. But overall, I'm optimistic. We will remain vigilant guarding or monitoring, I should say, those revenues each month going forward. Regarding the registry of deeds correction, I believe you folks have some information in your packet that shows the calculation that we had arrived at. So for the third year in a row, to remind you each, we are looking to amend the registry of deeds appropriation, in this case downward by $69,893.18. When we approved the budget back in May, we had estimated the appropriation based on spending at that point at $3,152,534. The actual spending, which became known after FY 24 was closed, came in at $3,007,454.46. We are adhering to the guideline within Chapter 64D, Section 12A, regarding the disbursement of not less than, let me just get it real quick. At the very bottom, the county budget shall provide a continuing amount of expenditure of not less than 102.5% of the amount expended for that purpose in the preceding fiscal year. So using 2.5% of the actual expenditures, the revised or amended appropriation now becomes $3,082,640.82, or an adjustment downward, as I mentioned, of $69,893.18. Notice was sent to the register regarding this matter on September 6th. He appeared before the commissioners last week. The register had some differing opinion, as you can imagine, on the approach to this particular item. I won't get into those details at this time, but we have recommended where to find these particular dollars. We thoughtfully went through the appropriation to see where prior year spending and current year spending may offer some opportunity. Those are found on an attachment within your packet. 13 various line items, which we hope will have minimal effect on the registry's operations this fiscal year. So the commissioners voted on all of these items last week favorably, and they're now before you this evening for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions you all may have. Thank you.
Okay, I will open up the floor to any questions from the committee. Mr. Redden, it's nice to see you, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Do you, I don't know how much of that you heard. Do you have any questions on the supplemental budget?
No, I read the information. I'm good. I understand the stuff that's going on here. It's typical.
Okay. There's only two questions I have that I think I've asked you before, but I just want to make sure that it's open too. Sure. The information technology grants,
Yes.
those are 100% reimbursable.
That's right.
So we have to front the money. Once it's spent, we get 100% back from the state.
That's correct.
Is that also true of the HVAC system? I see it on here. It says the project may have a cost offset from ARPA in excess capacity develops and is eligible for 100% reimbursement from the state.
Not strictly, no. It's what we're doing with ARPA as we wind down that program. We are mindful that we may have some surpluses emerge in the last month or two. Some communities in their closeout plans, Eric, have stated they intend to obligate their funds in under contracts, towards the end of fiscal year 24. In the event that any of those plans fall through and we cannot initiate further action with that community or that application, that frees up money to go somewhere. And the commissioners have been very clear, they don't want any money to go back to the government, the feds. So we're positioning certain, through contingency, certain applications, some from communities. We have about 10 of them in the portal right now, as well as one of our own, to scoop up any eligible federal grant money that can offset this cost. It's just a contingency. I will note though, I think I misspoke, Eric, when you expend monies to improve the courts, the state turns around and reimburses us for those improvements. This is a very large, and in the past, when you bond projects, the state has said, no, we will not get involved with reimbursements on bonded projects. But I have approached them. I said, well, this is capital money, not bonded. This is capital free cash. And they said, well, we appreciate us letting us know, we may not be able to give you $2 million back in 18 months. We may have to talk about a repayment plan for the benefit of the program. I said, that's fine by me. So I stand corrected by saying it's not reimbursable. It is under a different term
Yeah.
that I think we all understand
Understood.
through the trial court lease.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So I will take a motion to recommend the fiscal 25 supplemental budget request from the director's office, or from the commissioners to the full Norfolk County Advisory Board.
So move.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Go ahead, John.
For a friendly amendment, if I might add that the total amount of supplemental would be $2,234,178. Eric, that's reflecting the capital item, the transfers, and the supplemental item, if that's agreeable. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, we'll take a roll call vote. Dr. Childs?
Aye.
Ms. Searle?
Aye.
Mr. Connors? Aye. Mr. Reardon?
aye.
The chair votes aye. Okay, so we will recommend supplemental budget to the Norfolk County Advisory Board as presented. The next item on the agenda is a report for a meeting with the agricultural high school. Go ahead, John.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask, is it the Finance Committee's chairman's interest to amend the registry of deeds board? Be a separate motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion on the registry of deeds reduction? Okay, I'll take a motion.
So move.
Second,
We should probably read it, right? All right, so this motion is pursuant to Mass General Law 64D, Section 12B, to amend the fiscal 25 Registry of Deeds budget by removing $69,893.18 from 13 line items as provided in the attachment for a total fiscal 25 appropriation of $3,082,640.82. So I'll take a motion on that.
I thought you made a motion.
That is your motion.
Yeah, we need a, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We need a second on that.
And Joe gave
She
you.
was the second.
second,
Okay, so we're gonna motion in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of this motion by roll call, Dr. Childs,
Aye.
Ms. Searle,
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Connors, Mr. Reardon,
aye.
chair votes aye. Okay, so now we'll move on to report of the chair for, we had a meeting with John and John. John and Rob, yes. As we know, last year during the budget process, there seemed to be a little bit of some friction between the board and the Aggie. And we reached out basically to say, let's work in a collaborative manner coming into this coming year for the budget. So we had a good meeting. I thought it was a good meeting. The Aggie has a plan in place to start a series of meetings on strategic planning that will not, I've been told, will not affect the fiscal 25, the upcoming budget, but may affect future budgets. But it's their strategic plan on where we're going to go from this point as far as capital needs and budgetary needs, but also to try to give the school what it needs to run, obviously, but also to try to build it up. So I'm sorry, Dr. Childs was part of that meeting too. I didn't say that. I apologize. So the first meeting is going to be in October, I believe 10 and 7. And there's about 7 or 8 meetings scheduled right now. I will open it up to, I have offered to attend these meetings, but I'll open it up to the board if anybody would rather take that on. Yeah, I think so. I'll be more than happy to. So more to come on that, but we're basically going to work with them. They are hiring a consultant to look everything over. I think the big thing is just to make sure that the consultants are great to be there, but we need to be the ones driving the bus. Obviously, we need to let them know and make sure they understand what you guys need. and then how we work that into budgetary process and everything else, so
Your role is to facilitate.
absolutely,
Your role is to facilitate.
yes, okay. So is there any questions or any comments on that meeting? Okay, so we look forward to doing that, and the first meeting, like I said, is in October, so the next, I don't know when the next advisory board meeting is, but shortly after that, we will bring that back to this board as a whole, just to say what that kickoff meeting was. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the minutes for the open session meeting of May 15th, 2024 for approval. Did everybody get a chance to look these over?
So move.
Yep.
Ma'am.
Okay, I got a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Dr. Childs,
Yes.
Ms. Sarah,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Aye.
Mr. Reardon,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, I don't think we have any emergency items or topics that were not anticipated. Anybody have anything else to say before we adjourn this meeting? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
sorry,
Motion to adjourn.
we got a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Dr. Childs,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah,
Aye.
Mr. Connors,
Aye.
Mr. Reardon,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Finance committee is adjourned. Hey, we did pretty good.
You do great. It's okay. Half as well. This thing moves.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting of the Norfolk County Advisory Board to order. Can we do the roll call, Barbara?
Avon,
Here.
Bellingham,
Present.
Braintree,
Here.
Brookline,
Here,
Canton,
Yes.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Here.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Here.
Medway, Millis, Milton,
Milton, here.
Needham, Norfolk,
Here.
Norwood, Plainville,
Here.
Quincy, Randolph,
Here.
Sharon, Stoughton,
I don't want to jump in.
Walpole, Wellesley's here, Westwood, Weymouth,
I don't have a piece of paper.
Rentham,
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
multiple times.
Okay. Okay. Give me a second. I think.
Bill, if you mute your computer. Good. Thank you.
You didn't ask me, so we didn't.
Yeah, that's right. Don't get it.
Bill, you got a number yet?
Bill.
It's muted right now.
We've only got 30,000, 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000.
Oh, that's right, it's on the twice.
Hey Phil, how are you? Say again.
He's coming.
How we doing, Phil?
Yeah. I've got the message.
Okay. Can you? Okay. Yeah, go on, you can proceed, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. We need to do a couple of housekeeping items. I'm sorry about this. We need to read the executive order on remote participation. On Wednesday, March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act making appropriations for fiscal year 2023, which includes a 2-year extension of the option for public bodies to hold remote meetings by suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20. That action was effective immediately, extending the current option for remote meetings to March 31, 2025. And that is because we are in a hybrid meeting tonight. And before we start, why don't we do the Pledge of Allegiance? Carl, can I bother you to lead us?
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. And then before we get started, I thought, Mr. Martin, our superintendent, would you like to just say a couple words? Well, thank you for hosting us again, and we're glad to be here. Would you like to just say a couple things?
Sure. Welcome to your first meeting of the advisory board. Glad to have you, and we have some gifts for you on the table. I'll let Principal Van Ross tell you exactly what's in them, because I don't really know. As I've said on multiple occasions, I wasn't hired because I know anything about farming. But we're off to a great start here this year. We have had the usual school start some fits, some scheduled glitches with kids. We've had some bus route issues, but nothing we can't handle. So we're off to a really good start. As some of you may have heard in the first meeting, we are developing a strategic plan with the work of a consulting group that hopefully is going to lay out the future for the next 3 to 5 years for the Aggie. This will include vision, mission statements, as well as a list of core values that hopefully will inform what we do with our capital and operating budgets over the course of the next few years. So we're looking forward to working with this group during the course of that process. Mr. Beckerman has graciously volunteered to be a member of that committee, the executive committee. So he will be able to report back to you on our progress as we meet through the year. Again, welcome, and glad to have you guys here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so then, Ross, would you like to just tell us what's in the bag?
So as you know, we have our abundance garden, that is a cross collaboration between multiple departments, mostly spearheaded by the environmental science program and some of the environmental teachers who care for it over the summer along with some students. So you kind of get the excess from the garden for the fall season. So we have in there what we call our ugly garlic. When you see it, the outside of it doesn't have its skin anymore because it was harvested a week too late, but it doesn't impact the taste. So cut the top off, sprinkle it with olive oil, and you'll have some great garlic. There's also some spicy peppers in there, and a bundle of herbs from parsley to oregano, to basil. What else is in there? Chives, and they're all a little bit different. So that's from the Aggie Abundance Garden. The students and the teachers go to various different farmers markets and sell the goods, and then what's left is donated to area food banks.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Well, I'll enjoy that. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. I think the first order of business tonight is an executive session with our counsel, Scott Lopez. So I believe we'll need a vote to go into executive session. We'll need a vote to come out of executive session. If we could do that.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Thank you.
Please read that. So I'll read the executive set. So motion is executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21A(3), to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares.
Yep,
So you must so declare.
I do declare that we need to go into executive session for the purpose of litigation and strategy.
So I will make the motion.
Yes. And we have a second?
Second.
Second, excellent. Good. All right, I think we're ready for a roll call vote.
Avon,
Yes.
Bellingham,
Yes.
Braintree,
Yes.
Brookline,
Yes.
Canton,
Yes.
Hanson, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Yes.
Medway, Millis, Milton,
Yes.
Needham, Norfolk,
Yes.
Norwood, Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy, Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon, Stoughton, Walpole, Wellesley votes yes, Westwood, Weymouth, Rentham.
Thank you. The ballot's unanimous, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. We're gonna turn it over to.
Good evening, everyone.
Wait.
Sorry. Oh, wait.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everybody, to our open meeting. Are we live?
You are.
We are live, okay. All right, we are going to move on to,
Bro.
Take it up that door.
the FY 25 first supplemental budget transfer request and appropriation amendments. And I think we'll start on that with John Cronin walking us through it. Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening. Regarding the county's request for supplemental funding, I wish to inform the committee, the board, that the county closed FY 24 with a surplus of $3,407,908. That balance includes $2 million, which this board approved last year, the Dedham Superior Court HVAC renovation project. No funds were expended from that authorization. Subsequently, that money will be requested for reauthorization shortly. But if you back that figure out, as well as the $730,426.99 set aside that's required for our budgeting, the real balance is $677,481. This evening, we're requesting $192,778 draw from that, which, if approved, will result in a balance forward of $480,703. Before I get to the county's brief request for supplemental funding, as usual, I'd like to give the advisory board brief updates on a number of different financial touchstones. The first, I just wanted to show how this particular surplus adjusted with that capital dollars out mirrors prior year surpluses. You'll note the FY 21 surplus was a high watermark, followed by FY 22, and thus with these diminished revenues, we have decided through the commissioners not to fund a capital budget in FY 25. We are not recommending any deposits into stabilization or OPEB. We're simply going to use this small amount of money to make do with essential needs through the rest of the fiscal year or until revenue models improve. The current stabilization fund has increased through interest gain to $6.372 million. That remains at 16.8% of our operating budget for FY 25. That is a healthy balance. I think I've stated in the past, our goal through recommendation of the Abrahams Group is to achieve a 20% of operating budget ratio. Hopefully with better years ahead, we will eventually deposit more money in stabilization to gain that level of protection. And then finally, the OPEB contribution, according to our June 23rd liability GASB 7475 report, our liability has gone from $40,129,091 down to $36,601,815. The county continues to make regular and recurring payments of $100,000 through our operating budget contribution. Some members may recall in the past when we had large surpluses, we'd throw a little extra into that. It's not the case this fiscal year. So overall, we remain quite healthy and well protected against any future problems. From a supplemental perspective, as I mentioned, these are rather brief requests. The first is from our Information Technology Department. This is a reimbursement request. We're in receipt of a grant award from the state for municipal local cybersecurity. This $60,778 grant must be fronted by the county. Once expended, we'll send the reimbursement request into the state and will be made whole. The Walton Golf Course currently is going through a design phase. We require an additional $32,000 to complete the study to look at the tennis courts that have experienced a dramatic amount of cracks and poor, unsafe playing surfaces. The commissioners have committed to offset the cost of resurfacing these particular courts through the use of ARPA funds. So with the county supplementing this study piece, we're expecting the results to be available to us within the next 4 weeks, at which time we'll take the estimated cost, put the product out to bid and pay for the resurfacing and remedy at the Walton Recreational Facility using federal ARPA funds. That project is estimated currently to be approximately $300,000. I'll get to the Registry of Deeds last, if you don't mind. We'll just complete our request for supplemental items. The Commissioner's Office, you may recall, was in a catch-up mode to complete audits. Last fiscal year, you budgeted supplementally $50,000 to help us to complete the FY23 budget. Unfortunately, that work was not completed before the end of the fiscal year. The money reverted. We're now asking you to take that reversion, reauthorize it through this supplemental so that we can pay our auditors to finish FY23. We expect them to wrap that up right around Columbus Day, at which time they will begin doing FY24 and we will be fully caught up. So that's a value of $50,000. The reserve fund, briefly, some of you may know our longtime Chief Procurement Officer retired at the end of July. And at that time, we took the opportunity with the Commissioner's direction to reform the unit and examine it. We've hired a firm to supplement Nancy's role as Chief Procurement Officer and also examine the workflow and the policies within the unit to bring them up to speed and identify role responsibilities for processing contracts, purchase orders, and so forth, as well as examining our purchasing policy to see if we have any gaps of compliance. We continue to interview and hope to backfill her position in the next several weeks. But meanwhile, we've consumed funds within our budget, our emergency reserve account, to the tune of approximately $50,000, and we're requesting additional monies to replenish that as we are so early in the fiscal year. Turn the page to the back. We have a couple of very small transfer requests. The schools are looking for $40,500 to correct a permanent salary item in their FY25 budget. And the Treasurer's Office has a longevity oversight of $900 they're looking to offset from their temp salaries. Each time I speak with the advisory board, I'd like to give you observations ahead. And one of the items I wanted to be very clear about is the county is currently tracking a deficiency in our employee health insurance fund. It emerged in FY24 as a result of revenue deposits for this fund landing in the general fund. The treasurer reports $250,898 is deficient at the end of July, and we'll address this shortfall later in fiscal year 25 as supplemental fund availability develops. In other words, I believe it's too early to assign that amount of money towards this deficiency with such a little balance on hand. We will address it by the end of the year. And briefly, as my explanation indicates, funds were deposited into the general fund in prior years and used. So they need to be replenished through supplemental needs. In FY24, as I mentioned, your body approved a $2 million transfer from capital improvement to install an HVAC system at Dedham Superior Court. We've been working with architects to finalize the study and estimates for scope of work to be put on the street this fall. So you're later on, we'll ask for a motion to reauthorize that $2 million. This project may be eligible for ARPA funds as an offset. We're using it as a space to hopefully, in the event we do our math right, not use, but if some community does not use all of their ARPA money and we want to avoid sending the money back to the federal government, we can use this or some other authorized eligible project to consume those funds and avoid a reversion. Otherwise, we expect a 100% reimbursement of this project from the state pursuant to our lease. We have completed our FY 22 audit, and as mentioned, I hope to have the 23 audit completed within the next 2 months. We're exploring an electrical vehicle charging station grant, which would provide our first electric charging port behind the Registry of Deeds. Our vendor works with the state grant program. We made application in the spring, and we're waiting to hear from them on our eligibility, and we will inform everybody if we're successful. And then finally, revenue collections. In July, we're slightly below benchmark. As noted here, we a year ago collected $661,000. Our benchmark from then to now unfortunately fell below 600,000. We did hear the August numbers may be trending up. We don't have a trial balance yet to show you, but we see some favorable action going on in the marketplace that could show FY 25 revenue collections to be stronger. Many of you do know that the Federal Reserve and the interest rate they set is a major driver towards the economic engine of Registry of Deeds fees. I think most of you heard today the Feds approved the jumbo rate cut of 0.5%, which may very well jumpstart a lot of home transactions and other things that will possibly generate that additional revenue we've been waiting for the last 2 years. So overall, the supplemental budget is relatively light as designed. I wish at this point to just draw your attention to our recommendation to alter the Registry of Deeds or amend the Registry of Deeds budget for FY 25. Bill, if you could pull up that one pager that shows the proposed amendment to the Registry of Deeds, please. Thank you. The advisory board approved an appropriation in May estimated at $3,152,534. As FY 24 closed, the Registry of Deeds actual spending was below that at $3,007,454.46. When you take the actual spending and multiply it by 102.5% as described below in section 12 of chapter 64D, the resulting adjusted appropriation would be $3,082,640.82. Effectively, this would be an amendment to reduce their appropriation based on spending by $69,893.18. The register appeared before the commissioners a week ago. He pitched a proposal to offset this deficiency or amendment through the use of additional deeds excise funds. I don't recommend that at this point. If this board is interested in upholding what the commission has advanced, we have put forth an area of where these funds could be reduced within the register's appropriation. Bill, if you could pull up that spreadsheet for a moment, using some thoughtful analysis based on prior year spending as well as existing year appropriation space, there are a number of accounts where this reduction could be minimally affecting the operation of the registry. We feel we proposed this to the register. I don't believe he has endorsed this product. He has different ideas on how this particular item should be resolved. The commissioners approved this proposal last week and welcomed the register to return later in the year if circumstances involving registry activity improve. But for this evening, I'm recommending you adopt an amendment to the budget to the tune of $69,000 with the associated and proposed reduction by account to square the deal. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take some questions from the advisory board. I think, Charlie, you had your hand up. Charlie, please.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the HVAC project at the courthouse. Given the fact that you're still having the consultant work on the design of the system, how much of the $2 million do we anticipate being spent in this FY 25? And do we need to budget all $2 million? It's taking a very long time to get air handler units and equipment associated with HVAC. And if somebody could take a look at that, I don't need the answer right now, but if we could look at it and maybe make budget that appropriately, that would be a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. The product has not been put out to bid, but your point is well taken. We will need the full amount to authorize the contract when it is. We expect the product to be on the street for bid this fall and awarded before December 31st, 2024. But to your point, in the event the vendor finds that because of supply stream issues or other product delays, that the project will go beyond June 30th, we will inform this body that some of that project needs may go into FY 25, and we'll look for similar reauthorization of any unspent balance.
Into 26. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
That's right. Yep.
And then I have another small question, if you please. The tennis courts at President's, are we looking at modifying any of the tennis courts into pickleball courts?
We are not.
No, they're already there. There were two already there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Okay. Any other members with questions of the budget? Please go right ahead.
I have the two areas, on the FY 25 observation, they had the first one about the deficiency in the employee health fund.
Yes, sir.
Is the 250,898 deficiency, is that actually the amount of revenue that was misapplied in general fund?
No.
Which one's, is it
Wait,
bigger?
could you, I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood your question.
So what I was trying to figure out, the thing that caught my attention was, how did this revenue get into the general fund? And I assume it was some mistake that it got there.
That's correct. These are employee contributions to the fund
Okay.
that should have gone into this fund.
So what I was trying to figure out was, is the amount that was misdirected into the general fund equal to 250,898? So that's the number that.
Yes.
That's all I wanted.
Okay.
And on the registrar's amendment, if we, I think I would only remember from last year, if I remember it all. Have we done this type of an adjustment in the past? So this is, in terms of consistency and handling, this is consistent with what we've done. I don't mean exact numbers, but the adjustments have been, we've done this every year.
Yes, for the last 2 years.
Correct.
Last 2 years.
1 year was in the registrar's favor.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought I heard you say. We're not changing any of our procedures here.
That's right.
Correct.
Can I
So
explain
in FY 23, based on prior spending, the adjustment was to increase this appropriation by $94,192.51. A year ago, similar circumstances as this year, lower spending resulted in a recommendation reduced by $18,105.75. That was offset a bit by a supplemental for temp services. So we are following the same pattern of examining actual spending during the first meeting of the fiscal year following. That's right.
My last question is a mechanical one. So if I understand this here, the registrar is saying, go pull this out of this bucket over here, which sort of doesn't affect me, if I'm understanding it right. In a way, it's a bucket, but go get it over there and leave me alone. Do we have, so we have the authority to decrease the budget. And obviously you've got to be able to pull the money that we're decreasing it by from some account in the registrar's budget. The registrar doesn't want to pull it from any of the kinds of accounts do we have the authority to unilaterally choose where we're going to pull it? Is that one of the questions we have, is where to
It's
pull
a
it?
great question, Gus. I spoke to the assistant treasurer today about that matter. In other words, can we just vote the bottom line? Is that the question?
Well, or I'm happy to do, I'm saying we have the authority to do anything other than.
You have the authority to increase, decrease, or alter the appropriations of, individual departments.
Right.
Through your vote, I think you're directing the treasurer on where to find that. In the event the registrar finds that to be incompatible with his business model, he can certainly ask for a transfer.
Okay, but we don't have to worry about where it's coming from. We just do the top line and then, okay.
And remember, this is the FY 25 budget, so there's time for him to
Oh, yeah.
adjust his budget
Sure.
to meet the slightly lower appropriation.
I just wanted to understand the tug of war. Okay.
I'm sorry, Peter, please.
Yeah, so on this sheet that I have in front of me, it has red highlights. So where did the decision come from to reduce these specific items? Who was the decision maker on those pieces?
There has been no decision to do that, Peter. These are recommendations of where the total $69,000 would come from.
let me rephrase the question. So where did the recommendations come from in these areas? Who made these recommendations?
The Director of Administration and Budget, who examined the register's FY 25 spending to date and prior year spending to see if there are any areas associated with potential surpluses that would be less impactful to the register's appropriate operations.
So it wasn't the county commissioners that made this suggestion?
The Director of Administration and Budget works for the county commissioners.
Okay, but that's the person who looked at the numbers and came up with these figures.
That's right.
For the commissioner's consideration.
That's correct.
Commissioner,
If I may, to
Please.
shed a little bit of light for our members here, this was the subject of some pretty protracted discussion. And perhaps I had a minority view on this because I felt, in fairness to Registrar O'Donnell, we had instituted a freeze, you may recall. And basically, it's pretty hard to spend your money when there's a freeze in effect. So to some degree, that the numbers that Mr. O'Donnell is being quote unquote punished by was caused by our freeze, which was in the good interest of the county. However, I want to make sure I'm clear. I did support the recommendations here presented with the understanding that if at a later time revenues come back, Mr. O'Donnell could petition and get a transfer granted by the commissioners and then, of course, endorsed by you. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I was bothered by this because I felt, in fairness to him, we had put the freeze in, right or wrong, good or bad. How can you spend when you can't spend? But the good thing, I think, is that on the record, the vote was taken and we acknowledged that if things turn around, and they should, we can put some money back in there. And I think that's fair as well. So that was the compromise. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Okay.
and in fact, we did that last year
That's right.
with the slight
Which is-
decrease of
and-
18,000. We ended
It
up
goes-
voting a supplemental of 15,000.
If I may, Madam Chairman, it goes back to the council question. We're being consistent to what we did before. So it was consistent. But I want to make sure for the record, we had said in fairness that if there's a change, we can, do that. That's all. So, all right. Thank you. So we would support this
Yes.
budget. We would support this change.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Seeing none, can we have the report of the finance committee?
The finance committee met tonight to discuss this and we voted to recommend the motion that, recommend all of the changes and all of the supplementals that are being presented by the commissioner's office. There was no major questions on any of these. I do have one comment to Commissioner Stady's comment on the registry that I just curious about. Most budgets, as I understand it, your salaries and your expenses are two separate pieces of the budget. A hiring freeze on the registry, in my estimation, we're only talking about $69,000. That wouldn't even be one person. So did the hiring freeze actually cause the 69? The 69,000 seems to be expenditures, but I think it may be outside of salaries. And I'll defer to the director. I don't know if that's true.
I don't want to get into a semantic thing.
No, I'm
You
just
might be
saying,
right. I could be wrong. I was just trying to say,
And
the tenant we had would be froze the budgets.
Right.
I was looking at it that way. Semantically, you're right. There was a hiring freeze, so,
No, I support, and I support exactly what you said. I'm just curious to know if we're talking the same language, but.
Right.
I think.
But my
we're on the
motion
same
is saying, my sentiment was, as a commissioner.
Yeah.
I support the budget, I support the cut. The understanding is as a board, which is important for you to know,
Yep.
is that changes come about, we'll support those changes. That's all.
Yep.
Okay, that's all.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so I think we're going to need, three.
Motion to approve.
Second, Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. I think we're gonna do it, if three bites at the apple here, we're gonna do the motion for the HVAC, $2 million capital, project. We're gonna do the motions for the supplemental budget, and then we're gonna do the motion, to amend the FY 25 Registry of Deeds budget.
Motion to approve the first motion.
A motion, okay, thank you, and a second from,
No, not a second, I have a
okay,
question.
I'm sorry, hold on, Charlie, just a minute.
The
Okay.
HVAC is included in the fiscal 25 first budget adjustment.
It's all spelled on one sheet here. And
It is.
and the HVAC is in there.
It's a capital appropriation as defined by general law. We have to have a 2/3 vote
It's a reappropriation.
to reappropriate. The reason it's part of number two, Mr. Connors, is because the sheet you're holding is the way the county has always assessed the total action of the board. But I want to be clear, we require a separate vote on the capital piece pursuant to general law. The CIP is a new tool that you put in place a couple of years ago. Money in, money out has to be a 2/3 vote.
So if you exclude the HVAC part, then the motion for the supplemental budget itself would be $254,178.
It would be, I'm following, that's correct. I'm following past practice where the total vote on the supplemental reflects the actual. Okay, that's all. I understand there's a bit redundancy there, but the threaded needle is the authorization needs to get capital.
So, okay, so Charlie, can I ask you again to make your motion to approve the Superior Court HVAC project in the amount of $2 million funded from the previously authorized capital improvement fund monies in FY 24, which have reverted to the unexpended balance fund. Charlie?
So moved.
Thank you. Okay,
Seconded.
thank you, Mr. Connors. Okay, we do have to do roll call votes, I do believe on this, and we need a 2/3 vote. Okay.
Okay, Avon,
Aye.
Bellingham,
Aye.
Braintree,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Aye.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway, Millis, Milton,
Aye.
okay, Needham, Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood, Plainville,
Aye.
Quincy, Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon, Stowe, Walpole, Wellesley, yes, Westwood, Weymouth, Rentham.
Okay, Phil?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Finally. I have unanimous.
Thank you very much. The motion passes with unanimous vote. Okay, the next motion I'm looking for is a motion to approve the FY 25 first supplemental budget.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, totaling $2,234,178 for the projects as listed. The Deb Superior Court HVAC, 2 FY 25 budget transfers in the amount of $900 from the county treasurer's office temporary salaries account, and $40,500 from the Norfolk County Agricultural High School contractual services account, and $192,778 in supplemental items for IT, Wollaston Recreational Facility, and the County Commissioner's Office. Okay, so that is the total motion. I guess, Barbara, here we go again. Okay. All
You
right,
need a second.
we have a second. Who gave that second?
Charlie Ryan.
Okay, oh, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Charlie.
Avon,
Aye.
Bellingham,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Yes.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway, Millis, Milton, Needham, Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood, Plainville,
Aye.
Quincy, Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon, Stoughton, Walpole, Wellesley votes yes, Westwood, Weymouth, Rentham.
Phil, unanimous?
That's unanimous.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, the last motion that I would like would be somebody to move the motion pursuant to Mass General Laws 64D, Section 12B, to amend the FY 25 Registry of Deeds budget by removing $69,893.18 from 13 line items as provided in the attachment in front of you, for a total FY 25 appropriation of $3,082,640.82.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
Avon,
Aye.
Bellingham,
Aye.
Greentree,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Yes.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway, Millis, Milton, Needham, Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood, Plainville,
Aye.
Quincy, Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon, Stoughton, Walpole, Wellesley votes yes, Westwood, Weymouth, and Rentham.
It's unanimous again, Bill?
That's unanimous.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's move on to the other agenda item. This is the report of regarding the meeting with the agricultural high school leadership. This is a project, as we talked about at our last meeting, so that at the end of the year, when we have to vote the bottom line on the budget for the school, we actually understand better what is within that bottom line, so that it helps people on the board understand the process. Remember, this is going to be an iterative process. The plan is to work closely with the leadership of the school through this whole cycle, and maybe even through the next cycle if necessary. And Eric Beckerman is graciously chairing this effort, and I'm going to ask him to speak to our first meeting, which we held last week, and talk a little bit more briefly about it, and maybe we'll also ask you to say a couple words, Superintendent Martin, in a minute. Okay, go ahead, please, Eric.
Okay, so we did meet last week by Zoom. The people who were present at that meeting were Mr. Martin and Mr. Wallace, Principal Brock, Chair Childs, myself, and Polyokis.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I knew I was missing somebody. And it was a good meeting. We talked about, you know, where we want to go from here. You know, I think everybody remembers last year we had some issues between the Aggie and the advisory board, and in a effort to become a little more collaborative, we discussed where we're going to go from here. The school does have a plan in place to, as John had mentioned earlier, to start a strategic plan. Thank you. I'm just losing my mind today. And they have a series of meetings set up as of right now. The first one will be in October, to work with a consultant to go over the next 3 to 5 years and maybe even further into the future. We have been told that this would not affect the fiscal 25 budget. This next budget cycle will not be affected by this. So this is strategic planning for future. It could obviously impact future budgets, but this is also for not just the budgeting side of it, but also the capital side. And we all know that, you know, the Aggie is going to need some capital. It's going to have some capital needs in the future, just like any other school system would. So in an effort to just kind of work together and all of us be on the same page and understand the same thing, we're gonna start these meetings in October. So I'll turn it over to John if you have anything to add.
Sure. I want you to know, Eric, you're not the only one who's in this marvelous. I feel I'm in the same boat pretty regularly. I thought it was a very, very positive meeting. I think it's a nice tone for the work that we're gonna do, as to use Eric's work collaboratively this year. And it certainly will, the strategic plan process will have a say in what, or a recommendation coming out of the process, looking at our capital and operating budgets. As Eric just mentioned, we have a very old and continually aging infrastructure here. And we're also always looking to improve our work, improve our program. So I'm hoping that through the course of the process, we will also get some recommendations as to what does an education at the Aggie look like for a 21st century learner? How are we doing the things now necessary to ensure that that student gets proper education? I have some personal thoughts on that. I'm hoping that through, again, this process, that we will come up with a plan that addresses all of these issues.
And just one thing I want to add also as part of the reasoning for the finance committee to spearhead this right now also is to also look at the tuition models that are out there. I know, there was some questions years ago about, structural deficits that have been pretty much cleared up now. As I understand it, there's some surpluses now, so we wanna start looking at, protecting all of the different towns, making sure that the tuitions aren't overtaxing the individual towns, in county. Out of county obviously is a little bit different, that's a different type of model, but we wanna start looking at all of these to make sure that we all understand exactly who we're hitting, how we're hitting, and why we're hitting. And if it turns out that we're in a structural surplus now, then maybe we need to look at tuitions in a different way, or maybe we need to look at capital in a different way. So those are parts of this as well. Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
If I could, not
Commissioner.
to extend the meeting, but to reiterate what our superintendent said, I would take a little bit of pride being the chairman of the Aggie, not anymore. Mr. Yorkis is now Dr. Yorkis, but we worked on this and had a lot of debate. We were surprised that we didn't have a strategic plan. We didn't have one. And it was amazing to me. We thought about, what, you can be kidding me? So this is a big step for the Aggie school. Aggie school is an excellent school. We know that. We know that. It is held in high regard. Wherever we go, as commissioners or trustees, we always hear positive things about the Aggie school. We want to do, like Superintendent Martin said, where do we want to go next? Where's our direction going to be? The only way to do that is to have a plan. And the plan's going to involve not just the advisory board. You're going to have stakeholders. There'll be parents, teachers, students, alumni, a wide, diverse group of people that will be on this committee. And as John mentioned, we start our work in October. So I'm looking forward to that. And we're going to work, of course, with the advisory board. But I think it's premature to start looking at tuition and what you could do and not do. I think what flows out of the effort of the strategic future plan will be some initiatives that we're going to look at. We may need something in terms of maybe additional staff or additional offerings or something to that matter. We can't do capital program because our bonded debt is so terrible. We can't do it in 2030, which is unfortunate, but we can plan. We can plan for that. That's what we can do. So let's take a look at the plan and work forward. And then you kind of work backwards in terms of, okay, where's our tuition? Where are we at? Do we need to cut it? Do we need to increase it? I don't see any kind of thing like that happening, and I don't want to premature jinx it. But, I agree with Eric. There's no question, not just agreeing with you. We had a couple of years of raises, and we heard, I think, loud and clear from different members, one from Walpole and a few others saying, hey, that's it for the tuition. So I think the school's in good shape. But we want to, we're looking at what's the future going to be. And that's what's going to come about from this strategic plan. Very exciting time for all of us to be involved with it, all of us. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. Let's approve the minutes of the meeting of May 15th, 2024. Can I have a motion to approve them?
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Any edits, corrections, changes? All right. All right, we have to vote this in a roll call.
Avon,
Aye.
Bellingham,
Aye.
Braintree, Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Yes.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway, Millis, Milton, Needham, Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood, Plainville,
Aye.
Quincy, Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon, Stoughton, Walpole, Wellesley votes yes, Westwood, Weymouth, Rentham.
Braintree was aye. I couldn't hit unmute quick enough, sorry.
Thank you, Charlie.
Unanimous.
All right, so Phil is unanimous. Thank you very much. The motion passes. I don't think there are any emergency topics. Would the commissioners like to add anything to the meeting tonight? Chair Shay, would you like, Commissioner Shay?
I
would you
do,
like
but
to say
I,
anything?
again, it's all positive. Talking about strategic planning for the school, reminded me that all of what we do here was part of a plan that started to change for us 4 years ago with the Abraham report. I don't have to tell you that change comes easy in Norfolk County, because I believe the lawsuit and one or two other very important questions are brought about by us asking questions, particularly the budget. And when I came into it, I didn't come into it without municipal experience, or budget experience, but it was still pretty eye-opening, and I didn't start by asking a lot of questions, but we ended up asking a lot of questions, and lo and behold. Plus, the change in personnel, the new hires, particularly at the school, complete team, John Wallace, principal, a new IT director on our side. We initiated the new weights and measures program, which is going terrific. We got the employee handbook, which hadn't been done since, was it 87 or 77?
But it was like
It was in the 70s.
86.
The last time we handed an employee
Yeah.
a book that said, "Hi, welcome to Norfolk County." We just got through negotiating with everyone. I think the teachers are on board now. That took 2 years, and lawyers and everything else. So we're really kind of proud of it, but change doesn't come easy. There's a lot of positiveness to this. We got a new director, a new assistant director. Our personnel, our purchasing agent left a month ago, a 30-year employee. We're searching to get a qualified purchasing agent. We're using a consulting firm now, because in order to be a municipal purchasing agent, you have to have some certificate from the state, which obviously the new person had. So we're proud. Every week when I read the paper, or read in political advertisements that we lost a lawsuit, I call and ask Scott. And I'm fortunate to have the two commissioners who are lawyers, so they may understand a little better than I do, but I'm not a stupid person. We never initiated this lawsuit. We said, let's try this, this, and this. Several of our department heads going along with us, and some of them are 25-year department heads. I don't think they're crazy about it, but they say, okay, we'll do it. But we ended up getting sued on this question of 64 D, sections 11 and 12, and chapter 35, section 2032. In 17 and 18, the independent auditors in their management letter said, you better look at how you're building your budget. I don't think 64D is being followed. This is our outside audit. So I look at it. Then we changed auditors last year. They didn't bring it up. But when I used to ask what the outside auditors were talking about, I'd get silly answers. I guarantee you, I shouldn't say if we lose the lawsuit, but we've been told by our counsel to, just keep your mouth shut and go about your business, which is fine. Don't think mayors and selectmen and other people haven't, said, hey, Shay, what's going on? You lost this? You didn't tell us? Because I always tell them the same thing. We're spending your money to sue us is a little crazy, but the amount of mailings and everything that went out, you won't get a mailing from us unless it's wise and properly done. I mean, we're getting mailing that you look up in the corner, it's $7 or $8. There was hundreds of those booklets and everything going out. You know why they went out? Because it's an election year and they were excess in the cellar of the registry. We paid to send those out. And if you ask, you get a letter back, you get attacked. It never was this way. Why can't we go back to the old ways? Hey, we may go back to the old ways if we lose, but it won't be without an honest effort, which was an idea of ours collectively. And we went out and were able to hire the Abrahams Group. And I think he's still in shock after he did this report, because he's done hundreds of municipal reports, and he said, you got some great people, but I also had some stonewalling and but we're not name callers. We're relying on our lawyer. I think he succinctly packaged it up today. I gotta tell you, the court system's not the fastest system in the state, but we're all subject to the same rules, and I think we're making progress. And again, thank you. Again, and the last thing I want to say is that as far as the registry goes, if they need more money, they'll get it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we never lost an employee during the hiring freeze. We didn't hire anyone new, but business is pretty slow. everyone's still in their seat, no incumbent has been let go, or no, you know. And we're out looking for an assistant person to help the weights and measures personnel. And I hate to take your time, but.
That's going great, thank you. Thank you, thank
Thank you,
you.
that's great.
Right, thank you, thank you.
Great, okay.
Always getting dripped on strawberries in the morning.
Any other final items that we didn't anticipate? No, okay, I think, can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Thank you, second, thank you. All right, can we do this by acclamation? Can we do this by acclamation, everybody? Does anybody object to us adjourning?
Well, please take this,
Okay, yes. and-
little remembrance from John.
By acclamation, it's unanimous, we're adjourned.
Technically, I told you.